I'm just going to start with a very short story before I sort of frame my big question, and then the idea and the ambition that actually a group of us have. So I've spent the last couple of days in Wellington with two amazing people. And what we were there to talk about was the possibility that exists for us to restore and replenish our lands and our waterways. And I felt so nourished and inspired at the end of that. And I was sitting at the airport yesterday afternoon, and I was scrolling through my Facebook feed, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to have the courage. I'm gonna miss it. I saw the ad, have you got a big idea? And I was like, oh, shouldn't I? And I messaged both Johnny and Miriana, and I was like, I think I maybe want to put up my hand to talk about tomorrow night. And then by the end of the day, they both rang me, and I saw Miriana's number flash up on my phone, and I was like, I don't want to do it. And I said to her, oh, nah, I know I said I would, but I think I'm going to back out. I'm not ready. And she said, you get up there and you do it, because this is about all of us, It's not about you, Naomi. It's about all of us. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I was so glad when Julie sort of started today by saying, oh, if you're not embarrassed to share your idea, then you've shared it too late. So here I am. Embarrassed, but yeah, having the courage, hopefully, to get this out. So where we landed, it was basically a confluence of inspiration and ideas from two of my mates, Alison and Andrew and I, around how we heal our landscapes from mountains to sea. And there were three critical components that we kind of landed on, and they were about the heart, the head, and the hands. And we thought, to do this, we have to start at a place from the heart. We have to nurture a platform for healing that's grounded in our shared values and our Indigenous knowledge systems within New Zealand. Everything has to start there, and we have to be really, really purposeful about how we knit that fabric through all of our actions, all of our initiatives, all of the engagements that we have when we're on this journey around healing our landscapes from mountains to sea. The second part was about the head, and that's where we sort of started to get into some of the really practical things that we needed to do. It was around designing pathways and tools that support our primary production sectors to shift from diminishing to replenishing, from diminishing through industrial and conventional systems to replenishing healthy landscapes. And Alison's a vet, and she's really focused in sort of that animal welfare sort of space, and she was really thinking about. She's been doing a lot of work in the dairy sector and the sheep and beef sector, and we had another good friend, Sam, who sort of joined us, who's part of leading this movement around what does regenerative agriculture look like for New Zealand. And I thought that's really, really great, and we can all use that across the country, but I don't hear that many people sort of stepping out and being brave in terms of what do these regenerative systems look like for forestry, and what do they look like for horticulture? Because for me, when I drive between the Waimeha through the Moutere and up through the Motueka, those are the things that I see most front of mind for me, and I want to be sure that the crisis that we're facing through the dairy industry in particular, really being in the spotlight, doesn't overshadow these other really significant problems that we have with some of our other primary sector production systems. And then the third part was about the hands, and for us that was really around democratising and visualising data to enable citizen agency and community empowerment. A lot of our data infrastructure is really outdated. It's owned and monitored and managed directly by our regional councils. And so the story and the narrative is through that particular lens, and it needs to shift. There needs to be transparency in the way that those systems are constructed. And we actually need to take not a step but an actual leap in terms of the technology that we're using to do that, so that the quality of the information enables us to get really good insight, and that those insights are coming down to the community level for people to really make decisions, to test and to challenge. So starting from the big question around how do we heal our landscapes to sort of this place where we thought actually this is kind of maybe what it looks like. I'm keen to take on that challenge. We are keen. And starting for me over the next 12 months around how I shape that up for one of the catchments, probably either the Waimeha or the Motueka catchment, and really want to just invite people on that journey, particularly our industry leaders in forestry and horticulture. Put that challenge out there and say, tell me your plan. How are you going to be part of this picture? It's not just my picture, it's the picture for all of us, because wouldn't it be amazing if by 20, 30 years time, whatever it takes, that we could say a whole region is a region where every single primary production system is based on the principle of regeneration, that every successive year our soils and our waterways are healthier than what they were last year, and that it's our people on the ground who are driving the decision making and holding the information in the palm of their hands. So kia ora tātou.